There was a woodcutter one time, and he had an only son. And he spent his time working and working and working, and he put away a certain amount of money. And when his son became a young man, he gave the son the money, and he said to the son, I want you to go to the city, and I want you to study in the university there. And I want you to become some sort of a professional person, so that you won't have to go into the woods when you become old, as I did after my father, and cut wood for a living. So the son said he would, and he went off to the town or to the city, and he studied and studied. But the old man was weak and tired, and he couldn't earn as much money as he used to earn, and soon the money ran out that he had given his son, and he couldn't earn any more money to spare to send to the son. So he had to call his son home and say to him, I'm very sorry, all of our money is gone. For the moment you'll have to come back and you can't pursue your studies. And the son said, that's all right, thank you very much for the opportunity that you've given me so far. And God is good, and something will turn up, and I will go into the woods and I will work with you in the woods and help you. Well, the father said, you couldn't possibly do that because you've been a student and you're now a puny person. You can't swing an axe and spend your entire day cutting down trees for a living. But the son said he would try and he would go, and no matter what he cut, it would be extra. So the father agreed. However, the man, being poor, did not have extra equipment. So they had to go to a neighbour and borrow an axe from the neighbour so that they could come along and have a pair of axes working. So the first day they went into the woods and they were working and working and working, and it was very tiring and it was very warm. And when the sun came into the sky at noon, the father said, we will have something to eat now, and we will have something to drink, and we will sit in the shade of a tree, and we will stay there until the heat of the day goes, and then we will start to cut again. But that's all very fine for an older man to say. But a younger man has young blood in his veins, and he wanted to keep going and keep doing things. So after he had something to eat, something small to drink, he started to wander around the forest through the trees himself, while his father sat against the tree in the shade and tried to recover his strength. So when the young man was walking along, he came to this very, very old and very, very large and very, very tall oak tree that was there for hundreds and hundreds of years. And when he looked up, it was so high up he almost couldn't see the top of it. It was that big and that old and that venerable. And he said lots of birds must have sung in those trees, in those branches, since that was first a small sapling. But while he was thinking about that, he heard a voice, or he heard a noise, and he wasn't sure what it was he had heard. And he looked down, and here, stuck in the root of the tree, was what he thought was a cork. But when he looked at it a bit more, he saw it was a cork of a bottle, and it was stuck in the bottle. And it was in the roots of the tree, and it must have been there for an awful long time, because it was well wedged in, and he had to pull and pull and pull. And when he got it out, he held it up, and something was bouncing around inside in the bottle, and it looked to him like a frog. And he said, that's very strange, that's there for so long, the frog would be dead, what is it? And then he heard a voice saying, let me out, let me out, let me out. So he looked and looked, and he held it to his ear, and he heard the voice calling, let me out, let me out. So he said, well, and he pulled out the cork, and out of the bottle came a big vapour or steam or vision that got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and became a spirit that filled the entire oak tree as far up as he could look. And when he looked again, he saw that it was a big giant looking down at him like that. And he said, I am going to break your neck. Well, said the young man, why would you do that? Who are you? And the giant said, I am Mercurius, and I was tricked into that bottle hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and I swore that whoever released me, I would break their neck as a punishment. Well, the young man had been to university, and he had sat at the feet of scholars, and he was somewhat of an intellectual as well, he thought. So he said to Mercurius, I don't believe you. The only way I will believe you is if you go back into the bottle and show me how you got back out again. So, of course, Mercurius said, I will. And he went and back into the bottle. And as soon as he went back into the bottle, the young man just got the cork and he put it back in. So, of course, the bottle was rattling and rattling, and Mercurius was shouting, let me out, let me out, let me out. And the young man said, I'm not that foolish. You said you would kill me if I let you out. And Mercurius was quiet for a minute, and he said, no, I said I would break the neck and the back of the person that released me, and you released me. So that's over. That promise is over, and that threat is over. However, if you let me out, I will grant you your wish. Well, the young man said, okay, and he opened the bottle, and out came Mercurius. He got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and he was up that size, and he said, now, what do you want? He said, well, I want to study to be a doctor, and my father is poor. Can you do something that will do both? So Mercurius came back down again, and he handed him a cloth, just a cloth, which seemed very little for the size of Mercurius. And he said, here. And he says, what good is that? And he says, if you rub that side of the cloth on a wound, the wound will heal immediately. And if you rub the other side of the cloth on any metal, that metal will turn to silver. And then he went off about his business wherever he went. And the young man went back about his business to his father. And his father was giving out, saying, where have you been? Where have you been? We should be cutting, we should be cutting. And he sat down and he said, I have something to tell you. So he told his father what had happened. And his father was very angry. And he said, you've been walking all around the forest all the time when you should have been taking a rest. Now you're tired. You come back with a piece of cloth. We have no wood cut. And we've no work done. And now we must work late to get enough wood to fit out our day's quota. Wait, said the son. And he went over to the tree with an axe. And he cut a wound in the tree with the axe. And then he said to his father, watch. And he took the piece of cloth and he rubbed it against the tree. And the wound healed and closed completely. And he said, that's the first part. The second part is this. And he picked up the axe and he rubbed it against the axe, face of the axe, and it turned to silver. And he said, look. And he struck the axe against the tree. Now, if you strike a silver axe against an oak tree, the oak tree won't give way. The silver axe gave way and was ruined. So the father was very cross now. He said, now, we've no wood cut. We've only got one axe. We can't go back and give the axe to our neighbour. We'll have to pay him for the axe that he no longer has. The son says, trust me. So he went into the town with the axe that was damaged, and he went to the silversmith and he said, will you value that for me? Will you buy the silver from me? And when the silversmith measured it and weighed it and valued it, he found that all of the money that he had in his business and in his house and everything else only came to 2/3 of the value of the axe, the silver that was in the axe. That's how valuable it was. So he said, I can't buy it from you. And the young man said, well, give me whatever you have and you can owe me the rest. So he went back to his father and he said, how much was the axe that the neighbour gave us that broke? And he said it was a price. And the son said, go back and give the neighbour twice that amount of money. So the next time that you ever ask for an axe, the neighbour will happily and gladly give you the use of his axe. So the father went back and he gave it to him. And when he came back, the son had all of the silver, all of the money there. He still had the cloth that healed and that turned metal into silver. And he said to the father, I don't want you to work anymore. I want you to stay at home. There's enough money here, and I'm going to go back to the city, to the university, and I'm going to study, and I'm going to become a doctor. And so it came to pass that he went back to the university, and he studied, and he became a famous doctor, and nobody could understand how he could heal wounds just by placing his hand on it, for he kept the cloth inside the hand, and he could heal wounds, and he became a famous doctor, and his father was very proud of him, and his father lived to a ripe old age. And all of that happened because the young man believed in the word of the spirit in the bottle.